Bliss Podcast, chatting with the Hare Krishnas.
Hare Krishna. DJ Purijit on the track there. Very nice. Wow, mixing it up. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Bliss Podcast. I'm your host, Maitreya Rishi Dasa, your insignificant host, here with the most significant, His Grace Purijit Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. How are you?
Hare Krishna, I am very happy to be with you today. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama.
Thank you. That sounds very not staged. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Let's go on Harinama.
Very nice. We're rapping with podcasting. It's a good mix. Welcome to the podcast. If you were with us last week, we talked about. I've totally spaced out. What did we talk about last week?
The bogus scientists.
Right. So you can catch that episode if you're a couple behind on this YouTube channel. Check it out. We have podcasts every Monday. It's very nice. This week we're going to be deconstructing a certain personality called Mr. Jump. Tom Jump. We here at the Bliss Temple, while we're taking the morning prasadam.
Sorry.
Yeah, Peru is sneezing because he's allergic to rascal atheists. So yeah, when we take the morning prasadam, we sometimes we listen to Srila Prabhupada on a morning walk, and sometimes we indulge in hearing the counter arguments of various people, scientists, atheists, and other kinds of opposing, just in particular in Tom Jump.
Okay.
Yeah, we hear occasionally debates.
Actually, we're not listening to anyone else except Prabhupada. But recently we have discovered this very interesting YouTube channel run by a devotee from New Zealand of the name Arjuna Gallagher. Gallagher, like the Oasis. Ah, you're from the 90s. You were born in 90s, right?
Is this the name of a band?
Yeah. Oasis.
Oh, okay.
And there were two brothers Gallaghers, and they were beating each other. And now they are separated. They don't play anymore.
It's the material world.
Anyway, that is a Prajalpa nonsense. Kick out. This devotee is very nice, Arjuna Gallagher, and I actually had the fortune to converse with him on Facebook. Converse with him, and he added me to his uh, chat group. Yeah, Facebook group. His channel is called Theology Unleashed. Unleashed, very nice name. And there he is debating various obscure, interesting personalities. He even captured Mr. Dillahunty.
Right.
Dillahunty is Dilla nonsense number one. The mustachy, bald-headed atheist.
Dilla Bunty.
Dillahunty. So Dillahunty is very famous,
Oh yeah.
right? So Gallagher is really going up there in the big. Maybe he's gonna get Dawkins at one point.
Oh, that would be
Dawkins is like the greatest. Uh,
he's like he's like the arch villain to the Hare Krishna storyline.
he would play very nicely some demon in Krishna Lila. If there was a Krishna Lila Hollywood movie, they should hire Dawkins to play some like Pralambasura or something.
I was gonna say actually he might be a reincarnation of Kamsa. I'm not sure. Be a very powerful demon.
Right, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, they took birth in the material world to give Krishna pleasure by playing demons. And Krishna gave them a choice. You can either go back home in seven births or seven births if you're a friend, or it's gonna be faster if you give me a little pleasure and play demons. So they took birth in different consecutive um, leelas, right? And played demons, great demons in the world. But then they, because they liked it so much, they agreed to appear again as Jaga and Mada in Chaitanya Leela.
Oh, that's the fourth. That's not the third.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think they can hear you.
Yeah, that's the fourth. And then a little known fact is that they combined both Hiranya and Hiranyaksha. They combined to make Dawkins.
Yeah, I think they maybe they agreed again to come. Yeah, and combining, like Lord Chaitanya is combining incarnation Radha and Krishna. So Dawkins is a combined incarnation of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Just kidding. Just kidding. Please, how is what is the name of our censor? Phil. Phil. Phil, please don't take it seriously, Phil.
Yeah, Phil's actually he's studying Shastra now very carefully, and he knows that there's actually a non-sedantic discrepancy here, so he's gonna probably censor the video. Sorry for all who's are listening.
He's writing a book called Decoding the Hare Krishnas and their chattings. Anyway, jokes aside, it's a very nice channel. Check it out if you can. Subscribe, give this nice devotee some support. He is doing very nicely, presenting Krishna conscious argument very skillfully, I have to say. Very skillfully, he's handling all these big, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, he just recently did one with this university professor. He's like a professor of logic and philosophy in Australia, Dr. Graham Oppie. He's meant to be like a big guy. I mean, and he speaks, in such a way that I mean, personally, I would find it very difficult to match him. I would have to ask him to speak like a layman. But Arjuna he's very sharp and he's trained in philosophy. You can tell, so it's very refreshing to hear.
Very suitable name, Arjuna, with a sword of knowledge. He's chopping them down, but in a very nice and polite manner, not like us. We just immediately say, "You a rascal, you deserve a kick on your face." That's how we argue with people. So he is very nice and very polished, and I would say very tolerant, because sometimes these people, from whatever we have watched, seem ridiculous, ridiculous, completely ridiculous. And I admire Arjuna for keeping his nerves and keeping so much tolerance. Another guy he was interviewing was this Aaron Ra, right? Aaron Ra, the complete monster from the hellish world, or I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm offending these people. That is certainly my purpose. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, it's not my purpose. Actually, all these people are um, blessed, definitely, because somehow they're discussing Krishna consciousness, and somehow they're using their brain, even if they're atheistic, to a little bit challenge their viewpoints. And I admire them that they go and speak with Arjuna. Actually, it's also admirable that they're not hateful, or they can keep consistent dialogue, and but some of them are offensive, very offensive, a little offensive, arrogant, a little arrogant. So Arjuna is not getting agitated. He's exemplifying the Trinada Pisuni Chena teaching of Lord Chaitanya very nicely. So yeah, so we decided we gonna do a response video, and we're gonna add some of our bliss spice into Arjuna's arguments, and take it or leave it. It's up to you. We just love doing it. We love discussing Krishna conscious philosophy, and love making fun of those who are not Krishna conscious, because they're funny.
I'm excited about this because just like how this Trinadapi Suni Chaina principle that Lord Chaitanya taught, which is that one should be more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree, something that we try to follow for ourselves. If a Vaishnava is blasphemed or is offended, then another Vaishnava should not be Trinadapi Suni Chaina, just like Lord Chaitanya, when Lord Nityananda was attacked by those two Leela demons, Jagai and Madai, then Lord Chaitanya was not Trinadapi Suni Chaina. He came with his Sudarshan Chakra, and he wanted to kill them, chop off their heads. So, similarly, we are on the outside perspective here, and we can chop off the head of these atheistic rascals philosophically. Don't kill us, Phil.
Yeah, when a Vaishnava sees another Vaishnava being offended, and instead of being more tolerant than a tree and more humble than a grass, he becomes more burning than fire and more deadly than a poison. Ho ho ho.
So, let's dive into the debates. So we were recently watching this debate with a Mr. Tom Jump, as I mentioned before. Tom Jump is a YouTube philosopher, which is apparently a job title that you can earn nowadays, and he debates various people who are philosophers and religionists and like that. So. Yeah, he had Arjuna on his live stream show, and they went toe to toe for about almost 2 hours on is there a reason to believe in God? So this is quite an interesting topic. I'm gonna now play a portion of that interview wherein Arjuna is defending a certain point, and Tom is posing his counter argument, and then we're gonna go in depth and analyze. Hare Krishna, enjoy.
Now you decide what you want to do. Like you're ultimately the one that's going to suffer based on what you do and what you don't do. So there's kind of it's almost like yoga psychology. Like there's just laws about the way the world works, and you can position yourself in such a way that you elevate yourself or you can degrade yourself. And it's not sectarian. Anyone who's following those principles, even if they don't believe in God, will be elevating. And if they get elevated enough, then they'll come to be aware of God's existence and come closer to Him.
How is that different from Christianity? Because Christianity makes similar claims that if you just pray hard enough or whatever, pray genuinely enough, you'll get to know God in some way. And if we just look at different societies in the world, the Hare Krishnas don't seem to be like the richest or the smartest or the most enlightened. There seems to be lots of other groups we could measure on any criteria that seem to be doing better than Hare Krishna. So what is the reasoning to believe that the laws handed down by Hare Krishna are actually true as opposed to just like Christianity just made up?
So, Prabhu has a point already he would like to bring up. He's become agitated in the mind upon hearing this atheistic rascal. What do you have to say, Prabhu?
Like this statement that the Hare Krishnas are not the richest, not smartest, and not what was the third one?
Most enlightened.
Most enlightened is ridiculous. I have to say, it is completely ridiculous. Like, one thing I would like to say from the very beginning is that Mr. Jump should make more study of the Hare Krishna movement, at least superficially, because he obviously doesn't have a clue about the basic points, basic history of Krishna consciousness. Like, for example, Srila Prabhupada, we don't have to go even further in the history. Srila Prabhupada came to US with 5 rupees, something like that, and within a period of 12 years, he had millions of dollars. I mean, not himself, but his movement generated millions of dollars, and all these devotees, without any full-time job, were living in big mansions, and these mansions are still there, right? International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So, who can match Srila Prabhupada in wealth and in uh, management, his topmost smart management of the movement? It is actually the fastest growing religious movement in the history. Within such a short period of time, it spread like anything. And it is not a joke to become a devotee of Hare Krishna. You must give up illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, intoxication. Where is such a movement where people are giving up these bad habits? You can't match that form of enlightenment of the devotees. We can speak enlightenment here and there. Anyone can see I'm enlightened, I'm religious, but it must be tested. So the devotees are following these 4 regulative principles, and there's hardly anyone who can match them. Everyone, including Mr. Jump, is probably breaking these principles. And if we tell him that please give up these principles at least for 6 months, he will not be able to do it. You will not be able. That is our challenge.
Right.
You do it. So
Dry without the process. You mean to say that you try to give up these things without taking to the Hare Krishna process?
yeah. So is there any other movement in the world that can follow these regulative principles? And if there is, I want to live with them. I want to see practically how they do this without God. Okay, let's move on.
Well, I also wanted to just bring up a couple of points in this connection that, yeah, this is a. Well, first of all, I don't actually know if Mr. Jump, if he actually quite caught the point on what Arjuna was saying, if I understood Arjuna's point correctly. But anyway, just going off of, based on what he said, yeah, I just wanted to make a point also on this enlightenment that Mr. Jump, like you say, also, he has not studied the philosophy. So, I mean, he's assuming a lot of things in his argument that we're not the most enlightened, but have you read our philosophy? Have you studied our books? Do you know what enlightenment is? How can you judge these things? So enlightenment means knowledge, right? So you should know what our knowledge is, and you'll see actually that if you study the Hare Krishna philosophy, it is the most complete and comprehensive understanding of the soul, of God, of the workings of both the material world, the supernatural world. So everything is explained very much in detail. You can't find a deeper enlightenment. I would gander to say you can't find a deeper enlightenment in any other philosophy. And so, based on that, I would say that Mr. Jump is making a very brash claim.
Yeah, if we're not the smartest, how come in 50 years no one was able to defeat Prabhupada's philosophy?
Yeah.
Like you can see, people are posting videos of Hare Krishna racist or Hare Krishna pedophiles or Hare Krishna um, woman abusers or Hare Krishna Hindu fanatics or
Character assassination. Character assassinations only, not going to actually the philosophy. And even those character assassinations are completely unfounded.
their character assassinates someone who pretends to be a devotee and infiltrates the movement to get some of these things, and then they study the movement by these people who are not at all devotees. But actually, if you go and study, uh, no one is smashing Prabhupada's arguments. They stay aloof. They don't touch it at all. These people, they're just going to the uh, minor points. So yeah, that is our challenge. You read Prabhupada's books and try to defeat his philosophy. Try it. I tried it myself. I was not successful. Instead of defeating Prabhupada, I myself became a devotee. So Mr. Jump should, study, and he should also defeat Prabhupada in this way, like how I defeated him.
You get judoed by Srila Prabhupada. So let's move on.
Can you say the first part again, sorry?
Yeah, so it seems like the laws that you mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, where it gives us to live your life this way. If you live the correct way, you'll get to know God. You said something like that. If you live in the correct way, I don't remember your exact phrasing.
Oh, you're not recording.
I am recording.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Have no fear.
Oh, okay. Okay. So here, Mr. Jump is misunderstanding Arjuna's point completely.
For the second time.
Completely. Arjuna explained the law of karma. It's non-sectarian. It works for the atheist. Even atheists can be moral, right? They can do some good deeds, and this will give them good karma. This is not the perfection of Krishna consciousness to have good karma. So Arjuna explained very nicely the law of karma is non-sectarian. It works on everyone, and that's what Bhagavad Gita explains also. So now Jump is saying that, if you believe in God, and so he's completely misunderstanding his point. Okay?
I think Mr. Jump is used to debating with people who are sectarian in their viewpoints, and now he's got a filter on how he's hearing Mr. Arjuna, and therefore he's thinking we think like that. So you want to move on with the video? Okay. Moving swiftly on. Oh, sorry, we're having some technical difficulties.
But the same thing seems to apply to Christianity. If you pray to Jesus and you open your heart to God, blah 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 blah.
Right. So, I mean, that made me think of one thing that I thought of when I was hearing you on the empathetic atheist, and it's something I've thought about a bit, which is there's this idea in a lot of religious groups about sort of, we call it prosperity doctrine or prosperity gospel, that if you're religious, it means you'll be materially successful, or God will fix your material problems, and you can measure somebody's God consciousness by their bank account and their health.
Yeah, sorry, just before Arjuna moves on, actually this is the main point I wanted to bring up in the previous, when we first stopped the video, that even if Jump was bringing this argument up legitimately and was really posing this out of as a genuine counter to the argument that Arjuna originally posed, this is not like a valid way to validate a religious practice or some kind of spiritual practice to see whether someone is materially benefited, which I think Arjuna is about to smash now. Like, you should test it on the spiritual values, so you must understand, you must study, like you say also, again, you must study what is the spirit, what is spiritual benefit. If we pose as a spiritual movement, then you should try to understand what the spiritual benefit is rather than judging off of wealth, or this is not the way to validate.
Srila Prabhupada talks about this a zillion, million, billions of times. He is stating the example of the communists, how the communists became prominent. The people were praying in church, "Oh God, give us our daily bread." So the communists were waiting at the time of crisis. I think this was in Russia. They were waiting before the church, and they were asking people, "So did you pray to God?" "Yes, we prayed." "And did you pray for bread?" "Yes." "And do you have bread?" "No." "Okay. So now will you pray to communists for bread?" "Yes." "Okay, we can try. We can experiment. Dear Mr. Communist, can you give us daily bread?" So the communists, they brought lots of bread in the cars, and they started handing out bread. "Here's the bread." And this is how people became communists.
Wow.
And
atheistic, I suppose, also afterwards, no?
yeah, and the point Prabhupada is hitting on is that they were never really loving God in the first place. It was not love of God, it was love of bread. See, all God, our dear order supplier, our servant, please give us our real God bread, so we can worship bread and use you as a servant to give us our bread. And bread is for our sense gratification. So Prabhupada also explains that such a person who is materially motivated, he cannot stick with God consciousness. He will fall into atheism, and that is going on. So this should be clarified from the very beginning. A Krishna consciousness is not a materially motivated religion. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, right in the beginning, Kama, Moksha, Dharma, Artha are kicked out from the Bhagavatam. All these materially motivated religions are kicked out. That's why Lord Chaitanya calls it the Amala Puranam, spotless Puranam. It's only about God and how to love Him. This is real religion. Doesn't matter, where you're coming from, Christianity or whatever. If you love God, you're not gonna pray for these material things.
And would you agree that's a common idea among religious people?
Not really. It's kind of a fringe movement under Christianity. The prosperity gospel is seen as a joke by most Christians, but even if
So here is another nonsense. Jump is saying that this people who are materially motivated, those who say that your religious practice is seen by how much you prosper materially, is a fringe movement. In other words, it's a minority. But that's complete nonsense, because majority of people are on this level of using God as an order supply. If they were not, they would inquire, who the hell is God? Which they do not, because then they will be reading the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas, where the description of God is minutely given. Another smash to Mr. Jump. We have a scripture, the Vedas. It's not that we have. The Vedas are a scripture for everyone, for all religions, to know God, to know His name, fame, pastimes, telephone number, Facebook, everything. All the informations about God are there. starting with his name, Krishna. If you say, hey, Mr. YouTube philosopher, come here, that doesn't feel so right. But if I say, oh, Tom, can you come here? Huh? The, you immediately can understand the difference of intimacy, the difference of understanding of his personality. One is just external, almost impersonal form of address. The other one is intimate and personal. I'm talking to you specifically, Mr. Tom Jump. Right. So similarly, religions or religious movements or religious people who are simply praying to God to be God themselves in the material world and get things, and they only pray to God when they're in crisis, or if they're not in crisis, they praying to God to preserve their wealth or preserve their happiness. So God is really not in the center of that religious practice. That's why Krishna consciousness is unique and the topmost pure religious practice, because all these different motivations are not present. So if he's asking, what's the difference between you and Christianity? This is the difference. Of course, he might not believe in God or Krishna at all, but at least let's speak objectively and let's recognize the differences.
I think it's actually the fastest growing though. Like if you look at Hillsong, they pack out a stadium every week. Well, maybe not. Well, I mean,
so do Mormons. I don't really consider Mormons to be fast growing. I mean, I think the fastest growing religion is Falun Gong right now. But
I mean, of the Christians, the fastest growing are the ones that say, join our church and you'll be rich.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure the fastest growing is the leftist.
So again, here we go competing, like small boys in the toilet room are comparing their peepees together. This is really not the way how to understand anything. Comparing, like it's not a horse race exactly. We're dealing with the knowledge or the science of God. 2 plus 2 is 4. It's not a question of, well, for me it's 4 and for you it's 5, and because you have 5, you have a bigger number, you win. The real knowledge is universal. It's for everyone. So this kind of discussion leads nowhere if you want to speak scientifically. So Prabhupada says that actually Christianity and the other religions are declining. And why? Because the people are not following the precepts of that religion. No one is following, although they might say Jesus, 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 so many things. But Lord Jesus says, thou shalt not kill, you should not kill the animals. And they're very expert in killing the animals. Like during the Christmas that is right now approaching, the Christian world is filled with animal slaughter, turkeys and chickens, and complete murder. So Prabhupada today, we were listening, says how long this hypocrisy can go on. People get fed up. The priest is saying one thing in the church, and then another thing he's doing in his private life. So people are naturally losing faith in religion because of this. So I don't think, there might be some increase of numbers. Someone might say, I belong to this religion, and so on, so on. Anyone can switch his designation. But when it comes to following the principles, the that is the real criterion. So that is minority. The truly religious people who love God and follow the instructions are in minority. So I don't think it's increasing; it's decreasing. The designations and the show and the hypocrisy might be increasing, and cheating in the name of God can increase, but the real following is decreasing actually.
Left-leaning part of the church that accepts homosexuality. That's the fastest growing branch of Christianity right now. People are leaving the right side.
So, and now we know why it's increasing. Okay, just illustrates the point I was saying before. Whatever damn nonsense you want, if I allow that in my religion, of course you're gonna join because you're not interested in following God or His principles. You're interested in your homosexuality or whatever. We're not against gays. Please, Phil, don't ban us again. But I think you understand my point.
They basically make religion a wholesale thing where whatever you want, it's like a marketplace. You can get whatever material benefit you want in the name of religion. So yeah, he actually also doesn't understand what religion is. So the point of this, the actual point of the debate is lost.
And I don't blame him. I don't blame him because nobody understands what is religion. Unless they read Srila Prabhupada's books, of course. It might sound sectarian or fanatical, but read it.
Side of Protestant and Catholicism who reject homosexuality and other kinds of things they see as debaucherous, and then the left side, which accepts them as not wholly immoral, is actually the one that's growing the most, from my understanding. But that's beside the point. So, but
yeah, anyway,
my initial point
I'm
is
not an
that
expert on that.
yeah,
Yeah,
but my initial point is that even if we get rid of the prosperity gospel, I don't care about the material wealth side. I just care about any measurable effect. It seems like if you say that living your life a certain way is going to have some kind of a beneficial effect, like getting to know God or something, we should be able to see some kind of a difference. Otherwise, why should we believe that it's actually doing anything? Like, what is?
yeah. So
Go
the
ahead.
difference you see, like it's measured with so.
Okay, so I would like to challenge this whole thing. Krishna consciousness is not a belief. That's a number one thing. Because by nature, by definition, believe means this. I believe in God because I get something. So Srila Prabhupada is very careful to make very clear this distinction that Krishna consciousness is not a belief, it's a fact, it's a science. And the aim of this practice is not to get anything. Quite the opposite. The aim of this practice, Krishna consciousness, is to lose everything. Like we have the prayers of Queen Kunti in the Bhagavatam. She's not praying for, to have homosex or to have a new car or to have prosperity. Or she's praying, please Krishna, take everything away from me. Because when I'm poverty stricken, when I'm in a bad time, my devotion to you is stronger. I become more dependent on you. So this is what devotees are praying for. They want to lose everything. They want to become miserable in the material sense, because then the only shelter they have is Krishna. The more we enjoy, the more we forget Krishna. That's why we have been sent here into this world, because we wanted to equal God, and Krishna is giving us that facility to forget and become so-called imitation gods. So the faster we come out of this, and the life's challenges and reversals are great opportunities for this, the better for us. And ultimately, this is not a place where we should stay. So if we want to, if he's asking that, well, there must be some kind of measurable uh, impact or something that I can take advantage of, unless why should I practice this? It's a ridiculous question. There is nothing you can get out of this, and that's why this is true love. This is true love of Godhead. Krishna consciousness is not a sectarian religion to get material things, but it's a scientific process of how to revive our original dormant love of God, love of Krishna. So as long as you believe in Krishna to get something in return, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. So this is a huge misunderstanding.
Social science. I'm not super expert in all the research behind it, but they do find that people who are religious are happier, healthier, and live longer. And like there's one verse in the Bhagavatam, which is one of our core scriptures, that says, for one who's advancing in God consciousness, it compares it to having a meal. So when someone's engaged in eating a healthy meal, three things happen simultaneously. They experience pleasure, their hunger goes away, and they get nourishment, they get energy. So in a similar way, someone who's advancing in God consciousness, they become detached from the material world. I think that's pretty universal idea that if someone's religious, they shouldn't be like trying to keep up with the Joneses excessively, you know, maxing out all their credit cards so they can get a fancier car, and you know that there should be some detachment from these sort of worldly things, as they'll be getting their happiness somewhere else. They get a kind of bliss.
Yeah, so now when I think about it further, um, usually people they imitate. I mean, that's why we have come here to imitate Krishna. And within this material existence, we go on imitating Krishna in the sense that we imitate each other. That's why you have all these famous personalities, famous people that become the role models for people. They set the trends in fashion, in music, in arts, in their views. So Krishna consciousness is about self realization. In other words, when you become Krishna conscious, uh, the aim of this practice is to stop imitating others and playing these silly roles. Oh, okay, they have the greatest number of members, so I'll become that because there's some kind of a good deal. Like, you know, you go to a store in Little and they have a discount on vegetables, so everyone is grabbing. So you also want to go, but maybe there's some advantage why people otherwise are taking it. Let me also go. Right? This is a mentality of an animal, right? Animal is going with the crowd because he has no self-realization. He thinks he's the body, and he's trying to satisfy the body in the sense the others are also satisfying because it's a approved, right? There's more probability. If you do everything like the others, you can get also the same benefits, right? So in science is the same thing. The scientific so-called method, I spoke to scientists, ultimately depends on what is called the scientific consensus. So the scientists, they meet together, the top-notch scientists, and they have a voting. Is this science? Is this not science? They make a voting, and that is considered to be a fact. It's just about a vox populi, who's stronger, majority. So Krishna consciousness has nothing to do with this. We don't playing these silly games because it's silly. You can't vote on the truth. The truth is self-evident and it's universal, and nobody creates truth. You see, but blind man thinks everyone else is blind because these rascals have been manufacturing ideas and truths and theories and conceptions. When they come in contact with the absolute truth, with Krishna consciousness, they think, oh, this is also made up. This Krishna is also made up. Or if he's not made up, then Krishna himself propagated as God, just like I am doing here in this world. I'm propagating my YouTube channel, or in the small way, trying to become like God, famous like God. So this is another misunderstanding. Krishna consciousness is about self-realization. It's not about having good health or money or longevity or anything. It's to realize yourself. Who the hell are you? And what is your duty? What is that activity that nourishes that real self? That is Krishna consciousness. It can be attained very easily by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This chanting is the action of the soul, not the body, not any religion, not what the others are doing. Is the activity of the self.
I think that's a good place to stop this episode of the podcast. We're going to be continuing this debate and our commentary on it. Next week, you can catch us on episode 2. There may even be an episode 3. Who knows? It depends on the feedback we get on this episode. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and I will see you next time on the next episode of the Bliss Podcast. And we also have, just before I forget, sorry, so many social media links I'm going to be putting in the description down below. You can go to our Facebook, our Instagram, our website, Expand the Bliss on all of those. You can also go to our various donation platforms, GoFundMe, Patreon, and become a supporter. That helps us continue all of our various preaching activities, Sankirtan, going on the streets, chanting, distributing books, these podcasts, these ebooks that we also do, which you can find on the website. You can also get entitled them if you become a Patreon member. Compiled by Prabhu. Very, very nice books of philosophy that help strengthen your Krishna consciousness or convince you to even start practicing in the first place. So, yes, highly recommend you go to the description down below. Also, if you feel so inclined, please drop a comment on this video. Give us your questions, your challenges, your realizations, whatever you might have. Let's generate some discussion down below. We'd be delighted to go through that and converse with our various listeners. Anything else you'd like to add, Prabhu, before we end the podcast?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.